Hey, hope you're enjoying today's episode. I wanted to let you know because I often forget to do this, and then people always tell me, man, you should have let me know. We have 3 coach certificate events coming up this year, 2025, 2 in Sydney and 1 in the Northern Rivers. So if you do want to get involved, you want to work with us, you want to work in one of our gyms, or you just want to learn more about our approach to coaching and gain the toolkit that we see as essential for any high-level coach, this is the course for you. There are no prerequisites to enroll besides a desire to learn. We got March 15th and 16th, that's a Saturday and Sunday here at Botany, and September 2021 also here in Botany. They are the 2 Sydney events this year, March and September. If you're on the Northern Rivers, good news for you, we got one event coming your way, April 5th and 6th, and that will be held at Jungle Cabarita Beach. You can enroll for any of these through the website junglealliance.com. And if you want more information about it, you can reach out to me, info@junglealliance.com. Such a long distance to the microphone from the audio desk. I need to find a way to fucking we'll chop that out. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Today, Paulie and I are going to teach you the 5 things that you got to have in place if you want to start your own podcast. A lot of our allies have podcasts, have started podcasts. A lot of the coaches in our gym here in Botany have podcasts. We got like 4 podcasts or something that operate out of this studio. It's a really common thing, right? It's great. Like, it's a really good way to put your message out there. And if you've got a gym, I would say that you should have a podcast. Like, it doesn't have to be anything serious, but just a thing that people can listen to learn more about what you do.
And like, I think as coaches, it's something that you've always said is it's a really great way to practice because we coach and we present all the time. It's a really good way to keep sharpening that skill and articulating your message. And I know it's done wonders for me over the years. God, someone told me they started listening to our podcast and I said, please don't listen to the first 50 episodes. Please do not. I don't want to go back to them, but I know.
They weren't that bad.
They weren't that bad?
I mean, I haven't listened to them, but I'm sure.
But yeah, it's a really great thing to get better at that sort of thing. Putting your thoughts together, being able to kind of articulate things on the fly.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing too, like to mention at the outset, is that there's many different styles of podcasts you can have. You don't a lot of people assume that if you're venturing to do something like that, that you are kind of chasing growth and virality, right? It's like, oh, well, fuck, how do you make it as big as possible? And that is not an essential aspect of podcasting at all. Sure, if you want to be that, if you want to make that your main business activity and you want to be a podcaster, that might be a thing. You want to be the next, Chris Williams or whatever. But you might just want to have this audio message board where members of your gym, let's say you got 100 people that train with you, and those people are going to be changing over time, where they can come and access this library of conversations that informs them about their training journey. That's not designed to be viral. That's designed to just serve a very specific small community. And that's and you might go, I'm going to do 20 episodes and that's my podcast, right? Like, it doesn't even have to be something that goes on forever.
Yeah, absolutely. We did that here a long time ago, UT and I. And since Dylan starting the newer podcast it's very botany-centric again, the first 10 episodes was like that. Literally had a list of resources, conversations that you have repeatedly with members. Was like, I'm going to create this very intentionally as things that assets to my business for people to access and re-access all the time.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. And he's built that into the kind of email flow that you get once you sign up as a member. So you'll get that kind of fortnightly. It's about training and frequency of training and blah, blah, blah. It's really cool.
Good on him, eh? That show, he seems like he's been really consistent with that show.
Oh, he loves it. He loves it for the reasons why we love it.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to teach you 5 things. First one is you got to have the essential equipment. You arguably can do it totally on a shoestring. Like, you can just record the shit on your phone or whatever. There's all sorts of setups that I've seen people use. But I would say similar to that, these days, if you want to produce visual content like on Instagram and stuff, you need to have a decent camera. Like you at least need to have an iPhone or a current day smartphone with a reasonable camera on it.
Mm-hmm.
Your audio quality has to be good if you actually want people to listen to your thing.
Yeah, that's really true. Yeah, because it is an audio medium first and foremost. It's impossible to listen if it's fucking sounds like you're in a side of a barrel or in a pipe or something like that. It's got to be clear.
I mean, it does surprise me even today. You will listen to big shows like Chris Williamson, where they'll interview a guest over the internet, and one of them will be coming through with quite a poor audio quality.
Yeah,
and you actually can do it. Like it works. But the other thing you got to remember is that the listeners of that show have a huge amount of trust and respect for that show already.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a show like that can on occasion abuse that trust. Like they have that sort of that surplus quality.
Yep.
Whereas when you're starting out and you're like, hey, check out my show. If people jump on and have a listen and the audio shit, they're like, I'm not interested.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I do think you want to do it in a nice way. I've seen a few different setups. I've actually heard of people using just the wireless mics that we now use, like the DJI mics or the Rode Wireless Go, and that seems fine.
Yep.
But I'm going to say that the desk we use, having a desk like this, the Rodecaster Pro, is probably if you're serious about if you're doing it and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be doing this for a bit, spending the $950 or whatever on that, is fucking well worth it.
Yeah, totally. And look, I think there's probably technology out there that's cheaper. We're not really sure, but there's probably something that's more affordable there with less channels. We got fucking multiple channels on this thing.
Yeah.
You'll probably get something cheaper, but it's just having that. I guess what is it about that? It helps us get the good sound quality. It also makes it easier to do the thing. So we sit in, it's set up, you can focus on the task ahead and the topic, and you're not trying to dick around with whatever your phone or whatever that might be. Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, it's got plenty of controls, but not too much.
And the process of how you get it from there onto your platform, well, that can be a fucking nightmare. So it could take you hours of getting it from your digital device onto the platform. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. And that thing actually does, it adds filters to your audio automatically.
Ah, it does, eh?
Yeah, so you can just take it from that and then upload it to the internet and it's good. Whereas if you were using a professional thing, you have to go and run all those filters yourself because you're supposed to know how that shit works, which most of us don't. So yeah, Rodecaster Pro is the fucking bomb and well worth the money. And then I'm going to say you need a couple of mics, a couple of things to mount your mics on. We use these arms, but you could just use whatever.
Some people have got table mounted ones, or they just sit on a little tripod.
Yep. And if you're sitting at a desk, then that's going to be more appropriate for you. And then you probably need a couple pairs of earphones, and that's it.
Yeah, man.
Then you're fucking good to go. You don't need to video it. I don't think that's an essential thing. I think that's maybe something can come later. One of the big themes that we'll come back to with this is that you don't want to go and spend a fuckload of money at the outset because you haven't even proven out the concept that you're going to continue podcasting yet. So spend as little as you can. Maybe borrow the desk from someone who has one for your first few, or borrow someone's studio. And then once you're out there, this is a thing you can start making those investments.
Okay, what's second on your list?
Second on the list is content pillars. You have to have these in place. Now, I've been guilty of not having these in place many times. And let me just say, these 5 things are a lot of things that we haven't done for periods of time. But having your content pillars, what this basically means is knowing what your key messages or topics of discussion are and listing these out on a document somewhere so that you can adhere to that structure, right? The beauty of that is it allows you to be consistent with your messaging. So you're like, okay, I got 4 pillars. I'm going to be talking about strength training, and then I'm going to be talking about some of the challenges or some of the challenges of being a parent, and I'm going to talk about like lifestyle things you can do, and I'm going to fourth one's going to be like talking to clients or whatever. I'm just imagining I was a PT or a gym owner.
You are, bro.
Oh, yes, I am. I fucking am. But it allows you to be consistent with your messaging. So you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like I need to come up with a topic based on that pillar, right? And you take one of those pillars, you take the challenges of being a young parent, you could probably come up with like 15 different episode ideas based off that one thing. This allows you to be consistent with your messaging, and it also allows you to separate the process of coming up with the topic from the process of recording the episode. And what I have learned is that you definitely don't want to be doing those things at the same time. So then that allows you to like sit down once a month or whatever and think for 15 minutes. Oh, what are some cool topics ideas for next week's recording? And in that kind of space that you've carved out for that creative thing, you can come up with some ideas. And then next week when you sit down to record, you can create. I think that's really important versus, all right, Paulie, let's podcast. We sit down. Oh, I'm going to hit record in a sec. What do you think we should talk about today? That you can do that, have done it, you'll get it done, but it really does eat up a lot of bandwidth.
Absolutely.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
The same with like writing a program for someone or any kind. I'm sure with your uni work, it's like trying to create and execute at the same time is really fucking inefficient.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, putting that time aside is important. So what's third on your list, Joey?
Third is you want to build a buffer. Now, this is not essential.
Okay.
But I personally like this, and we did this with Bulletproof, which is my other podcast with JT, and
The
it
lesser
was,
one of the two.
of course, the younger cousin, if you will. And we, this really helped us in the beginning. And I actually said to JT, I'm like, I'm only going to embark on this podcast with you. Because he's like, let's do a podcast. And I'm like, whoa, cowboy. I fucking know about podcasting, all right? Let's not fucking jump in headlong. We got to get some shit in place. And he's like, what? We fucking, let's just press record. And I'm like, no. I'm like, I want to have, I think I said, we did one episode a week at that time. I said, I want 6 weeks of episodes. I want to be 6 episodes ahead all the time. So we'd have a buffer of 6 episodes. The first thing it does is it gives you mental space. So it takes you out of that, oh, fuck, it's this week. I got to get an episode out. We got to record, Paulie, we need to record one to get one out. Again, I've broken this rule many times, but that's a real stressful thing, right? It also allows for like disruptions in your life. So, whatever, you got to take a couple of weeks off because, one of the kids gets sick, or you've got a holiday coming up. You forgot about, fuck, I'm going to be away for 10 days. You can skip a couple of recording days and your publishing schedule doesn't get disrupted. And very guilty of this currently with this show is that when you get a disruption and you don't publish for a few weeks, it's really easy to go, fuck, it doesn't matter if we just don't publish for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll just take a break.
Yeah, 2 weeks turns into 4, 6, 8. Yeah, before you know it, you've basically stopped producing the show.
Yeah, yes.
Right? And so we all know this. You stop training, it's hard to get back into it. So if you can just have that buffer in place, it allows you to be consistent with it. And I think that there's like many benefits to that.
And I guess, one of those benefits is, well, you've got an audience and, you want to keep the audience engaged. So you work really hard for it. And then, when it's disrupted, you can lose something that you've built up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's almost like, well, what was that previous effort for?
Yes. Yep.
Audience feels abused. It's like the guy, I went on a public holiday, I remember years ago, some public holiday, I was in Clavelli, went to a cafe, it was open, pumping, and I'm like, man, fuck, open today, legend. And he's like, looked super tired at the cafe, and he's like, of course I'm open. He's like, if I don't open, all the people that come to get coffee here every day, they're going to go to the cafe next door and they're going to like that coffee. And then they're going to think the next day, oh, maybe I'll just go to the new cafe. He's like, that's why you always got to be open. I was like, fuck, that's so depressing. But I get your point.
Yeah.
Okay. Point number 4, prove to yourself first that you can do this.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we all get very excited at the outset of a new project. especially a podcast. There is something quite special about you're like, oh fuck, I sound like super, like hear my voice and shit through the earphones. Like, I can't believe we're doing this. This is going, like, you're going to be rubbing shoulders with Joe Rogan and shit.
Pretty much. We're on the same platform.
Right? Like,
we're colleagues.
Your show's listed under theirs. You're like, whoa, there we are. Like on iTunes and
also
Spotify.
It's also a low barrier to entry because you don't have to see your face. You're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
You don't have to be that self-conscious.
So there is something very kind of like that's kind of wild, right? That you can't just have a TV show. Yeah. Right? Yep. But you can just have a podcast that's up there with, whatever, best in the world. And so you get very excited about it. You get together, you got your friend, your counterpart that you're doing it with, and energy's high. And this is a classic thing at the outset of a project. Energy is always high. But then as you go further down the path, you realize, oh, it's actually really fucking hard. Oh, shit, we skipped a week. Oh, fuck, I felt last week's topic sucked. Actually, that was a crap episode. Wow. I'm finding it really hard to understand this editing software. There's just a bunch of things that pop up that you weren't anticipating that make it way less enjoyable than you thought it was going to, because it's not just about sitting down and having a chat. And so you have to prove it to yourself that you can do this thing over a minimum time frame. I think that's really important. So then instead of saying to people, hey, I'm doing a podcast now. Hey, I'm doing a podcast. And people are like, because when someone tells me, I'm like, great, how many episodes have you done? And they say, we've done 2. And it's like, you haven't done a podcast yet. I think you kind of need to do like 100 episodes, because anyone can do 2. Show me 50, kind of thing. Because that implies that you've been able to apply consistency to this process. So I think you kind of, the onus is on you to prove it to yourself first. Doesn't mean you can't tell anyone about it, but whether that be building that buffer of 6 episodes and you kind of say that to yourself at the start, like, I'm going to record 6 episodes, I'm going to get them done within a couple of weeks, and then we're going to start releasing and we're going to record once a week. Like, okay, if you made that declaration to yourself, you've proven it to yourself. I just think setting some kind of bar for yourself is important there.
I feel like there is 6 episodes easily that you can record from the outset based on your pillars and establishing who you are anyway. Secret, I'm probably going to start a new podcast.
Fuck you.
With limited
I don't know if I can join you on this one, bro.
Didn't ask, but but it's actually
branching out.
It's just to help me learn about the degree that I'm studying.
Oh wow,
yeah, because I don't chat to a lot of people about the topics, and I want to get better at talking about it. So anyway, literally like talking about this. This is great because for Joe, who's listening out there, my uni mate. I'm going to send you this episode straight away when it comes out because she's throwing all these ideas at me and we're getting excited. Literally. So
we should get business cards.
Yeah. T-shirts and hats.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But as you said, prove it to yourself. Actually, when you're thinking about the new concepts and you've got pillars, like each pillar is an episode. Like the first episode is who are you, and
origin story,
my origin story, your origins. You're like, there's so many episodes you can do from the outset as a means of doing that first 6 reps or whatever that might be.
Yeah, like that should be really easy to come up with, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think just proving it to yourself is important, and I would say like if you're doing that and you're like, we're gonna start this thing and it has no end date, I would say like do it for 6 months.
Yeah.
Because what's 6 months? That's 24 episodes if you're doing a 1 episode a week.
Yes, yeah.
That's pretty substantial. That's a body of work.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I've
got all these fears. This is so great advice for me. And I'm thinking about me, like, while you're giving all this advice, because I'm like, yeah, Joe, let's do it. But I know a little thing about podcasts. Okay. We need a buffer. Like, I'm like more cautious. She's like, let's dive in.
Yeah.
Nah.
Cool. How good.
What number are we up to there?
Last one now is number 5. It's not going to go viral. Just know that. Just know that. Probably no one's going to listen to your first 40 episodes.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
yes.
It's
just not. And probably, like a lot of people, you're going to be like, fuck, I wonder how many people listen to this. Because people are your colleagues or members or whatever are going to come to you and say, I listened to your podcast and I thought it was great, or I really like that chat, et cetera, et cetera. And you're going to start to think, fuck, we're getting out there. Fuck, people are picking this shit up. And then you're going to look at your analytics in your podcast host and it's going to say, yeah, you had like 17 downloads in the last 2 weeks. And you're going to be
like 3 unique listeners.
That's right. Yeah. That one's
Mom,
that's
Dad,
exactly.
and you.
Yeah. So
That's brutal, that last one.
yeah, it is. And so you just gotta know, like, it's like building a blog. We kind of all know that if you just start putting a blog on the internet, no one's going to read it. Like, you just have to start and keep going and be committed to that process. And in time, if you're doing a half decent job and you are consistent with it, the people that you are hoping to reach will be reached by it. But it's not going to be an overnight thing.
No.
And I think it's hard in this age because you can have an overnight thing with like Instagram or Threads or, whatever, like with these social media platforms. You can start producing content and it pick up sort of quickly.
Yep.
It still ultimately fucking doesn't go viral. But yeah, podcasting is just different in that way.
Yeah. I think from like the marketing cycle point of view, the podcast is so good because it's an asset that you have all the time that can keep giving to your business. And it's at that part where when you do have someone that comes into your circle, they can get to know you better and build more trust in a deeper way. So it's always going to be there and it's worth building up. And then the second reason is like going back to what I said about, it's not for the millions because it's not going to get viral, but it's more for your own self. Every week you have to kind of sharpen the tool on one aspect of your business or your mission, whatever you're doing. So it's as much for you, like posting on Instagram and stuff, as it is for like everyone else. It's like, just get it out there and enjoy that you're playing your trade away.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Sharpening the sword.
That's what you always say.
Is the one. What are you guys thinking? You got a structure, like you're thinking, like who's your podcast going to be for?
We're working that out.
Okay.
Because selfishly, I wanted to start the podcast because, I don't have many conversations about this topic. It's a new thing to me. I'm stepping into a new world. So I'm not talking about it with any of my family or my mates. I just don't have, fucking people to chat to. So reading everything, writing it down, assignments. It's like, I just want to have convos. So it was about me just trying to have conversations about the stuff that I'm learning, ask questions. So it's coming from that perspective first and foremost. I guess with Joe, we're like, I guess it would be useful for students maybe to listen to. We're both doing health science degrees, but she's majoring in clinical sciences. So she's looking to be an occupational therapist. And me, I'm looking at public health and like health education and health promotion. So it's a little different, but that kind of is good, when we work together from, slightly different places. So I don't know. I think we're going to just use it literally like as a learning tool. We could take a chronic disease, and then just talk about it.
Wow.
So grab a study, most recent literature around it or anything that might be topical, do a tiny bit of research, but also just be students that don't know everything and just talking about it. Because we're at that unique time where we know enough, we know a bit of the language, we know a little bit about the academic kind of landscape, and we also don't know a whole bunch of stuff as well.
Yeah.
So we'll just be like, not trying to be fucking, authorities on it. And she's got a funny personality, and I think we just did this 10-minute podcast for an assignment, a group assignment, and it worked really well. I'm like, fuck, we should do this. And I already set that as a goal to do this year, to help me kind of learn a bit better. That's kind of where it's at.
Imagine if like 5 years from now, you guys are like kick-ass practitioners in your respective fields.
Yeah.
And you've got this show, and like people can go back and follow your journey from being a student to being like a leader in the field.
Yeah.
Like that would be so sick.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Yeah, she's you'll meet Jo. But yeah, she's a lot of fun for sure. And she's just one of those people that is pretty unassuming, but she'll surprise you with all of her things that she's done.
Yeah.
Fucking, she worked in the film industry for ages, actually.
Oh, I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
What'd she do?
AD. She
Right
was
on.
an AD, and we actually crossed paths, but didn't really know it at the time on Gods of Egypt. And yeah, she was doing additional work, so I didn't really get to know her, but I was like, oh, I remember you. So yeah, it was funny. But she's done like a dozen different things.
Right on.
Yeah, so let's see how that goes.
Fuck yeah. I'll keep my eyes peeled. I'm excited to meet her too.
Yeah, cool, you will.
There it is, guys. Hope that helps. Good luck with your podcast.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks for listening.